Hi there, I'm Barb Clapp. I am having the pleasure of interviewing Nancy Hinds, the CEO of the Signal 13 Foundation, on behalf of Citybiz List. A little bit about me. I am the founder and former CEO of Clapp Communications, and I sold my agency last year. So I'm currently looking for my dream job and volunteering. One of the things I do is volunteer for the Signal 13 Foundation Board. I joined the board in 2014, and I am currently the vice president of the board. The fun part is I've known Nancy professionally for years, and I have a chance to interview her now, and I work with her on the Signal 13 board. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Barb.
Nancy, you've had a really cool career. You worked at the zoo and you worked for Visit Baltimore, and now you're at Signal 13 Foundation. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey?
So the first half of my career, I was in the news. So I was on the other side of the camera because I was a news producer. And then I moved from that to an editor of two local magazines. And then I went to Visit Baltimore, where I spent 13 years. I was the vice president of communications and public affairs. So I'm from Baltimore. So what a treat it was to have a career promoting Baltimore to tourists and conventions. I also was in charge of public affairs, which meant that I got to be involved in the politics, and I love politics. So that was great for me. But tourism, as everybody knows, is a major industry for Baltimore. So I spent a lot of time down there. And then I went up to the zoo when Don Hutchinson became the CEO, and I was the executive vice president of institutional advancement. And that's another really cool job because who doesn't love these animals? And I was actually 2 years before I was hired, I took my niece and nephew to the zoo. And I was walking around and thinking how cool it was. And I thought, well, I'm going to volunteer here when I retire. And 2 years later, I got a great job working for Don as the main fundraiser. So my team was responsible for bringing in all the private funds to the zoo. So more than half the budget. And, we did that through membership and fundraising and sales. And I spent about 9 years there. And then I had just told someone I wasn't going to leave the zoo unless the perfect job came along. And it turns out that Barb Clapp called me literally about a month or two after I said that and said, we are searching for a CEO of the Signal 13 Foundation. And would you be interested? And I was like, the minute I heard it, I was like, yes, that is like the perfect job for me. And I knew it from the very beginning. The minute she said it to me, I was like, that is the job for me. And I had a cousin who was a police officer. My niece's godfather is a retired police officer. So I knew what Signal 13 was. And thanks to Barb, I'm in a great job, perfect job for me. And I am very happy. And it is a real honor to help the men and women of the Baltimore Police Department.
We were so happy to get you from the zoo. We can't believe you left the zoo. But also, I want to make sure everyone knows that it was not just a shoe-in for you. You had to work like everybody else to get this position, and you worked hard for it, and we had a tough committee. So you did a great job, and here you are today.
Yes, so it's a board that is, if you haven't checked out Signal 13, you should look at their board list. And besides Barb Clapp, names that you would know around town. So imagine walking into that room and seeing people who are Baltimore and having to do an interview with them and trying to sell yourself. It was, as everyone in that room knows, it was a very stressful, terrifying experience for me. But thanks to Barb and the committee, they hired me, and I've been really happy.
So Nancy, was it like, let's see, it was Bill Jews, Bill Padarakis, let's see, who else? Bill Hooper, Sharon O'Connor, and me.
They were very nice and everything. They weren't trying to be tough, but the minute you see, them sitting around the table, it was at one point I thought I was going to have to leave because it was too much. It was so intimidating. I guess I should say they were not trying to be intimidating at all, but it was so intimidating. But they couldn't be more supportive of me now. And it's an experience that it makes for a good story for me to tell the story a lot about walking into that room and seeing, and Barb was on the committee, seeing, the room filled with those people. It was a lot.
So, yeah, there's great people on the board. Could you tell people about Signal 13 and why you think so many people are committed to Signal 13?
Yeah, so Signal 13 was founded in 1983, and it was started by a police commissioner, Frank Battaglia. And it was started to help Baltimore police officers who are injured on the job, or Baltimore police officers who have an unexpected financial hardship. And so we give grants to the police officers and their families, civilians in the department too. And then we also give college scholarships to their children. So, police officers are people and parents, and they want to give the best to their children and send their kids to college. And they don't make a lot of money. And college tuition, it just keeps going up and up. So we give college scholarships, and we are launching a capital campaign so that we can give more help to police officers, so that we can give more scholarships. And I've had the pleasure in my year or 14 months to work with some of these officers that have needed help. People might be familiar with the story of Isaac Carrington, Sergeant Isaac Carrington. He was shot outside of his house in Northeast Baltimore back in August of 2019. And he's in a wheelchair. And so we, Signal 13 helped him initially and gave him money to help him with his mortgage and kind of get him back on his feet. And then we found out he needed a mobility van because he was relying on everybody else. You don't think about that, all the things that come, with your life being changed. And he was relying on everybody else. So the Signal 13 Foundation and one of our board members, Steve Fader from Mile One Auto Group, also has a nonprofit arm, Wheels for Change. And it was Steve who said, we need to buy him a mobility van. So Mile One Wheels for Change led the way. Signal 13 paid half of it, almost half of it. And then the FOP paid the other portion of it. But it's the opportunity to do things like that really bring home what Signal 13 really does. Because people, a lot of people aren't familiar with Signal 13. And you hear a story like that and you're like, yeah, that brings it home, is here. And there are a lot of stories like that.
So the goal of Signal 13 in doing the grants and the scholarships is recruitment and retention. It's really important that we have good officers in the Baltimore City Police Department, and we have ways to recruit them and retain them. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So, being a police officer today is very different than being a police officer in 1983. There are as everyone knows, there are a lot of challenges facing police officers, and they risk their life almost every day to protect someone they don't even know. And, they don't get paid a lot of money. And so the police department, as a lot of people have heard, are struggling with recruitment and trying to get police officers to stay. So, if they bring in, for example, 100 new recruits, 95 of the people who have been there longer are retiring. So they're really trying to keep, their numbers up. So with our efforts with Signal 13 and through this $5 million capital campaign, we're really hoping, that by providing an additional resource to these police officers, that they know we're there for them to help them with college, that they know that we're there for them should they get sick or injured on the job, that it will really help, as Barb said, with recruitment and retention. And they just need to know they're supported. And knowing that Signal 13 is there for them, we truly believe it will make a difference, because if anyone cares about Baltimore, and I do, I love Baltimore, we need a strong, experienced police force that, is keeping Baltimore the great city that it is. And so with that comes experience. You can't have just like a company, you can't have a rotating door of people going in and out, and you're spending all your time training because people are leaving. And so we just want, consistency and people in the police department who care about the community, who are engaged with the community, are invested in the community. And we hope we'll be able to do that by giving more grants, by giving more scholarships, and really being there for years to come. And so that the recruitment and retention for the Baltimore Police Department does improve.
So Signal 13 means man down. So that is a universal signal. That means that someone's been hurt and that they need help immediately. So we want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So Signal 13 is a universal call. So when a Signal 13 goes out, it's a message to all police officers that one of their own needs assistance. And from my experience in the newsroom, I was on the assignment desk for many years, and what I found is you've got all these scanners running, and the minute you hear a Signal 13, you stop and you listen to what it is, because you don't want an officer hurt. And so that's what it means. And that's what where the foundation's name came from, is Signal 13. It means an officer needs assistance, and everybody comes together to assist that officer.
And the foundation also will assist with family members when the man is down, providing whatever their needs are while that officer is recovering. So let's talk about recovery. You just interviewed Laura, I think it's Laura Ruling.
Lauren Ruling, yes. So Lauren, it's running on our social media channels now. So Lauren Ruling is married to police recruit Cody Ruling. And he has been going through the academy for about 2.5 years now, which is much longer than normal. And the reason being is he's an active guardsman. So he was a Marine for 4 years. He served in Afghanistan. He's always wanted to serve. So his wife told me that he's always had a duty to serve. So he wanted to join the police force. He was going through recruitment during the training program, and then he'd get called up for duty. So it interrupted his, the training. And so that's why it took him so long to go through. But during a training exercise, a boxing exercise, he was severely injured. And so now his wife says he's gone from being a marathon runner, very healthy, exercising all the time, to needing assistance with walking. And he's got a long road of recovery ahead of him, but Signal 13 is providing support for him, helping to pay mortgages for him. And when the FOP, which the Fraternal Order Police, heard what we were doing, the FOP has matched what we're doing. So at least the family has enough to worry about. At least they don't have to worry about paying their mortgage for the next 8 months.
Yeah, he's had a rough injury, really. Do you have any other stories you want to share with people?
Yeah, so I have a mother who has 3 kids that she's sending to college, and she is a lieutenant in the police department, and she is taking advantage of not taking advantage. She applied for a scholarship for her daughter, and as she said, we did an interview with her, and as she said, police don't make, as I've said also, police don't make a lot of money, and putting 3 kids through college is expensive. And she wouldn't be able to do it without a Signal 13 grant. And so she was great to talk to. She's been in the police department over 20 years. I also talked to another mother whose son, she had a husband who was in the police department. The husband got sick. And this was a couple of years ago, about 5 years ago. Signal 13 stepped in to support the family. He died, right? And so Signal 13 was there for her. And then Signal 13 gave her son a scholarship to go to college all 4 years. And the son graduated from Calvert Hall. And she said the son would have never been able to go to college without Signal 13 support. So what she did, I talked to her on the phone and she said, I'm going to donate to Signal 13. It's not going to be much, but I want to show my appreciation for how much Signal 13 support years ago when my husband was sick, how much that meant to me and how much the scholarship itself meant to my son and to me. So that, I mean, you hear stories like that and you know everything that we're doing, and we want to do more, which is why we're having this capital campaign, is, you know, you hear stories like that, and she lost her husband and she wouldn't have been able to pay for college. And then another one is, one of the first police officers I met when I started was Sergeant Bill Shiflett. So you may remember the story of Sergeant Shiflett running into a methadone clinic when he heard that there was a gunman in this clinic. He was off duty and he went rushing into that building to try to save people, and he was shot. And it took him a year to recover. And he thought he was going to, it was July of 2019. He thought he was going to go back to work, and he wants to go back to work. In December of 2019, he suffered a setback and he couldn't go back until July. He's back working now, but you know, he said, I want to serve. I don't want to just retire. And so he has gone back, and Signal 13 gave him a lot of assistance. And as his wife said, Cheryl, who I've talked to many times, and she said, Signal 13 is a great organization that no one knows about, and we need to change that. So, you know, to have her say that the impact that we have on the lives of these Baltimore police families, again, is so rewarding for the board of directors of Signal 13. And just to know that what they're doing and the reason that the foundation was started so long ago, the mission is still the same. It's to help the Baltimore police and their families, to help civilians within the department with grants and scholarships. And then, Barb, if you don't mind, I just wanted to say, you know, Signal 13 is not associated with the Baltimore Police Department. We are not associated with the FOP. We are an independent nonprofit. We don't get any money from either one of them. And every dollar that we raise and that we in turn give to Baltimore police families is raised from individuals, from corporate grants, and from foundation grants. So people might not realize that either. They might think we get money from the police department. We do not. And the money that we raise and give out goes to the families. You know, it's to support the families who need help, whether paying for college or whether for a hardship grant.
Well, thank you, because that was my next question. So I'm glad that you answered it for me. And then how can people get involved if they want to support the officers that defend our city every day?
So it's we have a number of ways. So our website is www.signal13foundation.org, and you can do it that way. Or we have an event every fall, a crab feast. And this year,
I'm very familiar with that.
Yes, Barb is the co-chair. She's the chair, actually. But she's done it now 6 years. She did it 5 years. I think she was ready to hand off the baton, but we convinced her to continue because she's very good at being chair. So if anyone needs a chair for an event, Barb is great at it. So this year, 2020, we had it virtually, which was Barb's idea. And because obviously every nonprofit has had to rethink the way they do things. And the virtually, and I want to say thank you to Bo Brooks too, because they did a great job juggling everything. So virtual meant that we had donors who bought bushels of crabs, right? And then they donated the bushels of crabs to the police, and the majority were donated. And then something that is interesting about the crab feast in October, we have more support than ever before, and has nothing to do with me. It has to do with Barb and the committee. And we have more support than ever before because people are looking for ways to support the police. So, they want to find ways to support the police officers themselves, the families. And so the Crab Feast is one way. You know, if you go to the website, you can read all about our scholarships and our grants. You can donate online. It'll, you know, that
Follow us on social media.
and through social media. We have social media sites, and we tell these stories that I just told you. So, you know, I can talk forever, but it's their stories that are important, not me, you know. So there's the stories really will bring home to you what Signal 13 does. But I found in my 14 months on the job that people want to support police. And when I tell them what I do, they say, "Oh my God, count me in." You know, because they want to find ways that they can support these police officers and their families.
So anything you want to add, Nancy?
I think we've covered it. I just follow our social media, and we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. Help us spread the word about Signal 13. So there was someone, I went to a networking event, and he followed up with me and he said, "How can I help?" And, you know, he has two young kids, so he's not in a position to really give. But he said, "How can I help you?" I said, "You can tell people about Signal 13." So an organization that's, you know, 38 years old now. And that's something, you know, that in the past, until I arrived, which is why they hired, you know, a CEO, is to tell the stories. And, you know, but before then, Signal 13 has always done great work, and the board is committed, and you know, they have done great work, but they've flown under the radar. And now I want people to know what we do, so that, you know, those people out there are like, how do we support the police and what do we do? Signal 13. So that's how you can help us. You can support us so that we can give out more grants and we can help more Baltimore police families and more scholarship. But you can also help spread the word that there is an organization out there that supports police families in Baltimore.
Well, Nancy, thank you for your hard work. Your leadership has been unbelievable, and we appreciate your passion and your hard work.
Thank you, and thank you for your support, Barb, and thank you for being on the board and serving as vice president and the chair of our Crab Feast committee again. Thank you.